We have been working to try to get the tax identification number as a basis for how people would get direct payments. All of it, though, speaks to the fact that we are all well served if we recognize that everybody in our country is part of our community and that helping to grow the economy. Most of what we're doing is to meet the needs of people, but it's all stimulus. So we shouldn't cut the stimulus off that. I myself cannot understand why the tax number is not the basis for how some of this money is distributed. And so we'll be making that case as well.
And it is time to pass the Work and Family Mobility Act. What is mobility? It is freedom. We need a new normal, a new paradigm that centers the humanity of every individual, of every family, of every worker, regardless of immigration status. And so let's usher in a new normal. And I would argue that that new normal should include freedom of fear. Freedom from fear of interacting with your government because of your undocumented status. Freedom from fear of answering an unexpected knock at your door. Freedom from fear of picking up your children from school. And freedom from fear of safely driving your car on our shared streets. We can make this critical policy change here in Massachusetts.
And eliminate anyone who is not a citizen, meaning someone who's a resident, a green card holder, or undocumented. What you're left with then in the United States today is that 50% of the population under the age of 15 is communities of color. If you remove them from the calculation, then what that means is that you create a whiter and therefore more Republican voting base. And under the Constitution, if they are not counted as part of the population, you are not committing discrimination if you don't include them in the drawing of those lines, which means a school board that has a predominantly Latino population in Arizona, but a number of those kids are undocumented or their families are, they are now no longer able to elect anyone who represents them because of the way the lines are drawn. This weaponization is not only intentional, it is continuing. And part of what's happening in the HEROES Act, which just passed the House and is sitting in the Senate, is that it includes language that forbids the census from providing this data in circumvention of the Supreme Court.
It gives $1,200 to people that are here illegally. Why are we not prioritizing U.S. citizens? It lets criminals that are convicted of murder and rape, just because they're 50 years old or older, out of prison. And it federalizes elections, mandating that there's same-day voter registration and that everyone is mailed a ballot. This is a ridiculous bill in this combined rule, and I ask my members to vote no.
In 1 week, the Democrats have shown us exactly what they want to do. In 1 week's time, May 8th, 1 week ago, 7 Democrats on the Coronavirus Select Committee send a letter to Universal Stainless and Alloy Products in Western Pennsylvania, and they say, give back your PPP money. Right, here's a letter. You have not returned these funds. 3 days later, May 11th, 4 of our colleagues, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, send a letter to those 7 Democrats and say, hey, wait a minute. Universal Stainless followed the rules. They're entitled to their money. If they have to give it back, they will have to lay off steel workers. And today, this bill does what? This bill does what? It gives tax dollars to illegal immigrants. In 1 week's time, take money from steel workers, give it to illegal immigrants. That's the Democrat vision for their country. And if for no other reason, that's why we should vote against this bill.